Hi, everyone. And finally, the closing session at this year's Knowledge Series in Film Bazaar 2018. The driving theme for Knowledge Series this year has been Content is Business, when the unusual, quirky, edgy voice has clean swept the audiences in, reaped in the good money at the box office. And what better way to close this year than with that one voice in the Hindi film space that stood steadfast, never diluted his punch, made films twisted as ever, made the pastels and light grays just a little more darker, slipped in the pulpy, made a side character out of that huge Bollywood concern, the love story. Okay, before I eat up any more into this conversation space, let me just welcome him, Sriram Raghavan, whose Andhadhun just finished 50 weeks at the box office yesterday. Please may I welcome you, sir. And in conversation with him, the dark, the pulpy, and the love story is Somen Mishra, the head of creative development at Dharma Productions. May I welcome. Sriram and Dharma, you will agree, very unlikely bedfellows, but here they are.
Hello. Yeah. So for those of you, I think most of us know Sriram. For those of you who don't know, Sriram is a very distinct voice who works within the mainstream Bollywood films, but he doesn't quite follow the rules. He works with big stars, but they don't do the starry things in his film. He's somebody who walks the fine line between art and commerce, critical acclaim, and box office numbers. And as Anupama said, his latest film, Andhadhun, is one of the best films of the year, still in the theaters. So we're going to start talking with Andhadhun, and then we'll go back to his other films. The title is very intriguing. I don't know how much we'll cover that title. But I'm going to start on a lighter note. I was telling Sriram that in the recently concluded Mami Mumbai Film Festival, everyone is talking about Sriram sightings at Mami. So everyone loves Sriram. And it's rarity when you are working in the mainstream Bollywood film industry. What is the trick?
Trick for what?
For people, everyone loves you. Film fans, critics, fellow filmmakers, producers, everyone has a good thing to say about you.
That sounds very nazar lagne wala type thing, but I don't know. I went for Mami and I stood in that line because sometimes, it's great fun to just stand in the line and hope you get a ticket, hope you get in. That times have gone now. And I felt a little odd to, walk in. My film was not there in the jury. I was not on the jury or anything, so why should I not be like the rest? That's all, nothing else.
So people were tweeting, oh, I saw Sriram. He's watching Roma with me. He's just 3 rows behind me. He's 2 rows. So a lot of people were talking about Sriram with the hashtag Sriram sightings at Mami. So that was the question about it. We'll play a short film. I don't know how good the quality is. Maybe you can watch few minutes. This was the trigger point for his latest film, and then we'll start the conversation from there. Viraj, can we play that film? Sriram, my learning has been the choice of the story that you pick always decides the fate of the film. If you go wrong, then you're going to spend 2 years working on it. It's rarely that you can get it right. So when Andhadhun, you're thinking about it, how did this happen? You're working on a similar subject, then you chance upon this shot, and then you started more discussions, or you first got this one, and then it triggered the thought. What if you can elaborate on that?
See, basically what happened is, I had, after Agent Vinod, actually, I don't know if anybody has seen that film, but there was a sequence there where there is a blind pianist, a girl who's playing a piece. It's a song, actually, in the film, but and there is mayhem happening all around, which we just thought was good fun. So that was done, and the film sort of didn't do very well, and I was looking for other subjects and so on, and I had gone to IIT Madras for some similar seminar kind of thing, And I met a lot of boys and girls there, and some of them wanted to, so I met one guy, Hemant, who told me, let's try and write something together, so we used to exchange ideas and so on, and he was a big fan of Johnny Gaddar, and, so then one day, after about 2-3 months of interactions on various stories, just story ideas rather, one day he just sent me a short film saying, it's a nice film, just see it. The moment I saw it, somewhere, something clicked. I don't know what that is, but I just felt, I asked him, why don't we expand on this? And then a few days we kind of did some little bit of work, and we got that basic, there's an actor and there's a taboo character and so on. And then I wrote to the French guys. They take a little time to reply. So after a few weeks, they replied saying, sorry, there are too many offers we are getting, and so we are also making a film on this. So a feature film. So I kind of gave up, but and then I did Badlapur. And then once Badlapur, that took 1.5 years of my time and so on. And then after that, I said, okay, now time has passed. Now what are these guys up to, kind of a thing. Then I called them again. Again, they were in a little hemming and hawing kind of thing. And then at some point, Hemant also got busy with his own film, his first film. And then I continued work on this with a couple of other writer friends, colleagues of mine. And then eventually I said, okay, the only way to deal with this is go to Paris, meet them, and try our best to convince them. So we did that. And I said, whatever anybody else is doing, even what your director is doing, will not be my film. Because
so you went and met him?
Yeah, I met, not the director. The director refused to meet me. He said, no, I want to, not refuse. He just said, no, the producers dealt with him.
So you met the producer?
I met the producers.
Right.
Thibaut.
Right.
And then they said, okay, I said, look, I'll give you my script if you want. A version of the script. I mean, it was not exactly the same thing you saw, but they had a fair amount of all that second half stuff, that organ, everything was there. I said, where are you going to, I mean, this is not, it can't be, and I said, please sell it to Belgium and Japan, wherever you want, because they all make different films, it's great, so this is just a takeoff point for us, but a wonderful takeoff point. In fact, the reason I made that film is for that one sequence where, where this happens, it's an 8-minute sequence.
So how far can you go for a story? Sriram went to Paris. Has he seen the film, the director?
We have sent it to them, so I have not got it. Director, I don't know. Director, I have not even had an email exchange. I wrote to him, but I've been dealing with the producers actually.
Right. And also, you work with multiple writers, even on this one. Like Hemant is based in Chennai?
No, Bangalore.
Bangalore. Hemant is based in Bangalore. Then you have your regular working partners with whom you have written. So when there are 4 writers, more than one brain, how does the process works for you? You do something, then you bounce it back, or it's on Google Drive like a lot of people. But how does it work for you?
No, it's much more informal. There's a lot of brainstorming. There's a lot of discussions. And often it's me, because I'm the only one who's got the urgency to do it, kind of thing. So I'll try and write a few scenes, and then they become my audience. Then naturally they will say, this is lousy, this we don't buy, and stuff like that. So I'll say, you try our version. So it's more than writing, it's a lot of discussions. And based on discussions, sometimes we stumble on great ideas. So it's a lot of talk, that's all.
So it's not structured that, okay, I have to crack the story first. It's not structured as such, but as you keep on going discussions, everything evolves? Or?
Sort of, no, we had a basic skeleton of the story. The main thing was, if I don't know how much, there's a timer there, but anyway, the point is, initially, the whole idea was, where do you take it from this lovely scene, So I had all kinds of thoughts, In fact, the thing I said, okay, what we don't want to do is, it should not be, okay, this guy has seen a murder and now he's on the run and they are trying to find him. I didn't want that. Then at some point this idea came, what if he actually goes blind? Which is such a simple, actually, the next thing that can happen. But somehow, whenever I used to, even till the film was ready, I used to ask people, do you think, I hope there are spoilers we are talking about, but anyway. So I used to ask people at the interval, okay, what do you think happens now? And they had no clue. I said, how can people are not able to... So we thought, okay, so far so good, kind of a thing. And what was your question?
Okay. So once you have made the film, we're trying to cover the art, craft, and business side of filmmaking. Once you've made the film, because you're into the film for 1 year, 2 years, sometimes you lose perspective, you and your team. What do you do? Who do you bounce it off to as the first audience for your film? I'm talking about pre-release, post-edit log.
See, even before the edit log, we had this film was done in 2 schedules, but spread over, there was an 7-8 month gap in between because of dates and so on. So we had shot about 2 weeks, 14 days we had shot initially. After that, we shot the rest. So I used to show it to people, colleagues, friends of mine who I can trust and so on. So I used to have, even when I had my first cut, I used to show it to quite a few, a few select people, of course, and ask them to just watch it and tell me whatever they feel. So that used to help, kind of holding it. And for a long time, we didn't have the rabbit. in the story, and that came in much later and so on. So when we began shooting, when we began shooting, we had the rabbit, but for a long time in the script, we didn't have the rabbit.
So the bookend portion came in the end, is it? I'm guessing.
Came in the end, but the end of the writing.
End of the
actually.
writing.
Yeah.
Right. And also, were your makers confident? Because, again, from the business side, you made a film, your last film, with a much bigger star, Varun Dhawan. And when you calculate the numbers, you target a certain opening number, there's a song, there are revenues, compared to you're making a film with Ayushmann, Khurrana, and then it gets calibrated accordingly. Were your producers confident? And the film is still running, 50 days, 7th week, if I'm not wrong, and it's still running in the eighth week. And so were you guys and producers were confident of this long run?
See, I don't know. I was confident that it's a very interesting, oddball subject, and it was reminding me of all the Hitchcock and Coen brothers and Manmohan Desai and all that, So I was like I was having fun. Now, what happened is, of course, Ayushmann, what happens, just before we started shooting, his film had not worked, the Meri Pyari Bindu. So, the thing with corporate producers is they look at it from a you also part of that. So,
yeah, numbers, number game.
Yeah, so then they did a Ormax focus group testing on the script. And my scripts are never bound scripts, they are just like narrations. What is written is like very sketchy because I know we are doing it, So the dialogue we will do later depending on the cast and so on. So they told me also, okay, based on this, if it is Ayushmann, it will make 140 to 210 in the first day. And if it is Varun Dhawan, it will make about 7 or 8 crores in the first day.
This is crores, yeah.
And crores. And this is all, strange talk,
It's just based on the script. People are hearing the script.
Based on the script, which has been narrated not by me, by somebody else, to some people I don't know. Right. And that comes to me,
Okay.
And
that was the script part.
So they said,
that
okay,
was demoralizing, or you are still confident?
No, not demoralizing. I am past that demoralizing stage actually. But what happened is, so I told them if we sell it to the web and satellite, is there any assured amount you'll get? So I'll make the film within that so that it's safe. Right. So, I remember they scoffed. They said, oh, this car, nobody's going to be interested right now. After it's ready, if it does well, then you can demand. I said, how much can you demand? I said, you can get up to 30%. So I'm holding them on that now, right. of the revenue.
Right. And post-screening, how was the reaction the same compared to when they did the script reading? I'm saying they must have done, if they're doing it on script, I'm sure they must have done on the film as well.
See, I am also not against a focus group testing at all, because anyway, I'm doing it with the people I know. And people I know, there is a certain possibility that, they may not tell me the truth, or they'll be nice to me, whatever. I try my best to break that, but that's a natural thing. If I come and see your film, I won't say, what the hell have you made? I will say it nicely, So, in that sense, they had a screening, post-screening, and I went for that. Actually, I'm not supposed to be there, interact with them, but I was in some kopcha and watching and all that. And I could see they're enjoying the movie. Yeah. And then when they are, a few of them are taken into another room and there's a CC camera and we are shown the TV and everything, I can see what they're talking. And the questions are very dangerous, So, they are like, so what confused you in the film? So, and in any small group, the first or second person who talks usually takes the lead and, it kind of becomes like that. So I trust focus groups in the sense I get a sense of, okay, this is confusing, this part is not working and all that, but I won't bet my shirt on those numbers based on that, So that's the essential difference between me and the producer.
As a producer, I can say the part of that 6-7 films that I have been, we have never done focus group reading or narration for scripts, because hardly few people read scripts in the industry, and those who read also have to know that they understand what they're reading. So with normal audience, with theatre-going audience, I have never done it with any of the films. But what we do is people who are writers, we give them to read, or your fellow filmmakers or writers, and we get their feedback. Screenings we do, but screenings has been learning, but on the basis of the script, I'm hearing for the first time. So,
well, I don't know whether they've done it earlier or whether they were particularly anxious about this one, but it was done. So I remember they also get a thing, based on this, the word of mouth of this film will be so much, based on that. It's fantastic. Actually.
Have they gone all wrong? Have they gone completely wrong?
No, they did admit that this time it went wrong. So.
Okay. And as a director, you have worked with producers. of all kind. You started with Ram Gopal Verma, who were a filmmaker as a producer. You have worked with Dino, you have worked with a corporate studio, you have worked with an actor as a producer with Saif Ali Khan. So as a filmmaker, what has been the most comfortable journey, a filmmaker, an actor, corporate studio, independent producer?
I mean, each producer is a different kind of beast, but I have had my best and worst experience with
Who is
Dino.
the least biting?
No, my best and worst experience was with the same man, because in the first film, Agent Vinod, everything was going wrong. So when that didn't do well, the next time, luckily, they left me alone. So they said, okay, make it your way, and we are not going to. So Badlapur was like almost like an answer from, not answer, it was like, we said we have tried to please people and it failed. But we didn't lose too much money, but it kind of didn't make money. Yeah. So I said, let me just do it my way. So in a sense, it was my nirvana, and that's it. I don't care about the audience. Not that I don't care, of course I care.
Right. But also, I guess when the actor is involved as a producer, it puts different kind of pressure compared to Badlapur, where actor is just an actor.
Sure. And what happens is the thing is with Saif is an extremely charming guy, so sometimes, and we love the same kind of books and movies and so on. So it's very easy to get, as a director, to get co-opted into a certain thought process which you're not part of. So that corruption is a strong word, but there is a certain kind of thing, we all feel happy and...
there are 10 people also saying yes with him, so you buy into that.
Yeah.
So if you have an offer of all four kinds, which one you will pick now for your next film? All four kind of producers, which one will you pick?
See, eventually it's all the same here. You have to make sure you've got a good HOD team. You have to have a good DOP. So I make sure the rest of the people are all my people,
Right.
So if any chaos happens, we all leave. So that.
Okay, looking at the larger picture, the kind of films that you have made from Ek Hasina Thi and Agent Vinod, Andhadhun, there's a certain thematic similarity in the space that these films are. What was the trigger point, or is there some childhood incident with a gun that we don't know, or Sridhar might know, that you are attracted to these kind of stories? Or have you ever thought about it, why you are specifically tuned into these spaces?
No, I think it's just, right from childhood, what used to happen is, I used to be watching more of these movies, more thrillers, By that I mean mostly Hindi films. And the English ones that used to come are like, Guns of Navarone or the old Italian Job and so on. So I used to enjoy these movies more than the little family dramas and so on, which I used to watch but not enjoy so much. So I don't know. There is no a particular incident I was sent to a police station and locked up or something like that. That happened to Hitchcock. So.
Also, what is happening worldwide is, with the OTT platforms, they're covering every kind of crime and stories, be it Fargo, be it Looming Tower or True Detective or True Crime Stories. They're covering the entire gamut there. Are you tuned into that, or how do you see as a filmmaker who is working in feature space, is it a challenge to get the audience who is already tuned into those kind of things? Or is it better that they're much more experienced in that space so they'll be comfortable with these kind of spaces in films?
See, I also, not that I don't watch everything on the web, but I have seen all the Fargo seasons. I'm a big fan of the original Fargo film, right. And of course Hitchcock and so on. So my thing was, when this film was being made, I was like, I said it's very much Fargo-esque and kind of thing, So after that, the real battle that you have is, how much do you spoon feed the audience? That's the only battle which among us we have. And I tend to go with my grammar and my understanding. So I say, okay, this is obvious. We don't need to show it and we don't need to say it and all that. But when I'm having these little kind of groups who come and watch, and sometimes I find that too many people asking the same question, then it's a kind of a little alert. Okay, better think about this and so on. But I don't know whether that happens with you all in Dharma, where there is this constant line you hear, I get it, but the audience won't get it. What does that mean?
It hits everywhere.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere. Yeah. But in the last 15 years, if I'm not wrong, 15 years that you have been working making films, do you think that perception has changed, that audience has started getting, or at least something?
So, I've met, see, Badlapur was a little time back, 3 years back. There were a lot of things we left to the audience. Okay, obviously it's imagined, but there used to be people who used to not get it. And now either you dilute it and say, okay, make scenes out of that, and then I said, no, yeah, let's just do it a certain way. And luckily, when you're having a small budget and it's like a little, not a famous star or that kind of a thing, it becomes that much easier as long as you don't worry about these things. At least I was I said, let's try with the audience. And luckily, this time it's worked, I was given the example of Lunchbox. There are people who don't like Lunchbox because they don't know what happened in the end. I'm saying, are you daft? So,
Though it reminds me of an incident. I remember I was watching Johnny Gadar afternoon show, and there was a bunch of Gujarati aunties, housewives who had came, and they kept on talking, but Johnny Gadar kaun che? But Gaddar kaun che? Throughout the film, after the first half, they're just talking. It is so irritating. As a shut up, you get the film. So the audience is vast. When you talk about as an entity, it's always difficult to put which audience we are catering to.
there is one Billy Wilder line, ki, each member of the audience can be an imbecile, but collectively they are genius. It's like that. So you have to just trust the genius.
Right. Also, over the years with all your films, has your understanding of the numbers become better? I know a lot of us are, dismissive of the numbers, but also, you can't deny that it's a great thrill when you see your film is still running in this. You corrected me on 8th week, so there's a thrill factor attached to that your film, and that's a tangible way to measure the success. So has it your understanding has become better, or does it put a pressure as well? Or the numbers, the negative side is audience is also talking about the numbers, they should not care about it. No. How do you see it?
Both these things happen. There is no way you can avoid discussing or thinking about numbers. And there is no way of course, like when I saw Badlapur in a hall in Gateway Galaxy, I used to, in Bandra, Pune, in Bombay, there is this, big single screen. So when people are enjoying a movie, that you feel very good and you feel, okay, I want to do that next time. But next time is damn scary. What are you going to do? You can't try and repeat the same tricks, So it's you have to finish a movie, forget about it, become a newcomer again, So.
Right. Out of all your films, Agent Vinod was the big budget film compared to the rest of the thing. Yeah. What has been your learning when you work on a smaller budget, high concept film with a smaller actor compared to a much bigger budget film, and that didn't do well as compared to these films? So what has been the learning or takeaway from Agent Vinod?
No, I think Agent Vinod didn't work for, in the sense, when we were writing it, we knew it was a little baggy. I also knew in my heart of hearts, we don't have I didn't have forget the money, the expertise of doing action like the Bond films and all that. So I would have kind of gone for a much more grittier kind of story. But here, well, it's crazy to say. I said to myself, and my brother also was for some time working on the story, And I said to myself, agent films are what? Saving the world. And so I was doing the one line of Octopussy of all movies. I said, okay, what is this story? So that's where I went wrong, very early, before we rolled.
Right. And also because all of your films always pays homage to a lot of films, a lot of scenes you like. At the back of your mind, where do you draw the line between homage or inspiration or plagiarism? What can be done, what can't be done? Do those questions bother you? You think about them?
I'll tell you very simply. There's no fun in plagiarism because it's not your work. So how can you feel happy about it? So plagiarism is a no-no. And in terms of, like, for example, if Badlapur begins with a bank robbery. So obviously, there are many films I've seen with great bank robberies. There's one film, Gun Crazy, which has got a single shot and so on. But the idea is not to copy that or anything. The idea is to try and do something unique and different so that you also make your whatever. You have fun with the camera and with the whole storytelling. So the homage part of it is actually it just slips in. Sometimes I don't know. Like in Johnny Gadar, for example. After the film was over and I saw the reviews, I said, oh, there are so many things, I never thought of it like that.
It plays subconsciously while writing you don't realize and it seeps in. But when you have a writing partner, do they bounce it off saying, Acha, this scene reminds me of that, should we do it or shouldn't we do it? Or that's a completely open house?
No, it's an open house in that sense. I'm also looking at that. So that's like a Neeraj Pandey film.
Yeah, I told you. It's like a ticking bomb time.
There's a little timer here, so...
Also, since there's a love story there, I have to ask you a question about love story. If I put a gun on your head, what kind of love story you will make if you're forced to?
Love story, I like lots of them. I like Roman Holiday very much. I like Harry Met Sally.
Not Sejal. Okay.
And I recently loved Cold War So, I mean, it's not that, I mean, I get moved and affected by a good story, whether it's a love story or a comedy or, I mean, but it's not that it's just that maybe I don't get those stories or something like that.
I'm sure you won't. Will you?
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
I like Bridges of Madison County. I mean, can you believe it? I was reading the book and I got tears in my eyes when I was in the train. And I'm wondering, oh shit, it's embarrassing to cry when there's somebody sitting in front of you. So I went to the door and stood there. Then I came back. Last 20 pages. I don't know whether you read Bridges.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I do get affected. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we're going to open the house for questions. Please raise your hand. Can we have the house lights? It's all dark.
Yeah, we can't
yeah.
see.
Thank you. Okay. There's a question here. We can start from here. And keep the questions short so that we can take more questions.
Sir, very good evening. Just now in the conversation, you talked about Agent Vinod, action genre. I'm not that much familiar. So it had action choreography by Peter Haynes. So can you just elaborate a little more what went wrong so that we can have that some lessons?
See, I'll tell you,
Even though there was a Peter Haynes. Yeah,
different
thank
for
you.
different people. Peter Haynes is like incredible energy kind of person. The only thing is, I realized one day I'm shooting in some Delhi flyover and all that, and I am doing nothing. There are things happening for 7-8 days. I'm just standing there, you know. So I said to myself, this is no fun for me, you know, because I have to anyway attend the shoot, I have to be there and everything, but I am not doing anything. So I feel action is something which should have an emotional point. So unless, I mean, if you're making Fast and the Furious and something like that, which is dependent on action. I mean, I would prefer stories where the action is, you know, in my control. I know the story of the action. So in Vinod, what happened is, okay, this has to be a big action sequence or something like that. So we kind of tend to leave it to them, or kind of they take over in some manner and it's not in your control. That kind of a thing happens. So it's not, I don't do, I mean, there's nothing to, it's just that I don't drive a car. So how can I be a great car chase kind of how can I do a sequence of that? You know? So.
So my name is Shweta, I'm a filmmaker. By the way, I loved Agent Vinod. I admired the scale that you were trying to go for, and in India, I don't think it had been done before in a non-superhero way. My question is more about Andhadhun, that you said you were so kind of taken by the short film that you pursued it for years and then even flew to Paris. What was it that you pursued it for so long, and why not just leave that idea and move on to something that your own copyrighted idea?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part of your question. No, what was the question?
So the question is that what was it so much strong about the idea that you did not move on to something that you owned it, rather than pursuing the short film, the producer, and...
What hooked you so much that instead of working on your original idea, you're okay with it?
I mean, now when I watch this film, I mean, I don't know who has seen this film. I mean, I don't know, but I just love this film, you know. So without my really thinking about it, a lot of ideas started coming to me, you know. For example, having, okay, who's that guy, who's that lady, and so on. And then, for example, in Andhadhun, the man who died, the husband, could well have been a jeweler or an industrialist or something like that. But this little idea of, okay, make him a film star who's retired and so on. So all those things gave me a lot of cheap thrills, you know. So I remember, along with the story, there are things I want to do. For example, I wanted one shot which where you see a young man, and that's the first time you see him, and then the camera pans, you see the same guy 40 years later, you know. So this shot was a very difficult shot to take, because it's like, you know, but for me, that is like, somehow it reminds me of, God knows, I say it's a Wim Wenders shot. I don't know why I say that, but I think of Wim Wenders when I just wanted that shot. So there are some things you feel, oh, this is wonderful, and you try your best to include it. So it's that.
To add to that, long back there was a script lab where we had there was a script of mine, and Sriram was one of the mentors. So the joke was always how to get Sriram's attention. Just page 50, put a gun and a dead body. You will get Sriram's attention, and then we'll take it from there. So that's always the joke, what will get Sriram's interest. Yes.
Hi, Sriram, I'm Rahul from Bandolin. One thing that disappointed in the theatre with Andhadhun was the homage to all the piano scenes in the films wasn't in the film. Do you think, and first, how did you go about it? How did you think of it? And do you think that the film missed something on the big screen when you didn't play that?
Sorry, I'm somehow not able to. It's not clear.
The montage
In the end,
in the end. Yeah.
Sorry.
So, I mean,
You
what
were
did you feel?
disappointed by that?
Yeah, not by removing that. Yeah, yeah.
No, we didn't remove it. It's back in the halls.
Oh,
So it was.
Nobody knows.
nobody
No.
knows.
I'll tell you what happened. The first day we had it for the press and everything, and then while the press was watching the movie, suddenly 4 guys came to me. I said, "Who are they?" They are the legal team from my producers, and they have come late. So I was wondering who these 4 guys walked in late. Which magazine are they from? And no, they said we are the legal team, and they said you cannot do this, and you don't have permissions and all that. So I said, obviously, I don't have permissions, but I can get, I can get. But there are some films which are from the 40s and 50s and so on, So, and I was not even trying to get a better copy. I was just taking what was available on YouTube, So, at some point, I spoke to Shemaru. I spoke to Rajshri. I spoke to a couple of the big ones who had control on many of those things, And I asked them, okay, I'm using 1.5 seconds of these things. Would you have a problem? The Shemaru guy said, of course we'll have a problem, but not with you. So it's like that, So I don't know why.
I told in the beginning, everyone likes Sriram.
So I told Viacom, I don't know where, I said, and they said, if there's anybody objects, then you remove it. Or remove it in satellite kind of a thing. For me, it was like, it should be there because it was something lovely. So I said, okay, you all don't worry about this. If anything happens, I'll take the liability on that, So they put it back. I I thank Viacom for that because it's a very risky, crazy thing actually, but they put it back after a week. The only thing is, it comes, I'll tell you, this is a big problem. It comes, see, when the film gets over and, I don't know, spoilers, but he whacks the can, after which there is a certain music. In the dark, you're supposed to reflect on what's happened. So that goes on for about 1.5 minutes. And after that, the thing starts, with the rolling titles and so on. But in our theaters, what happens is, they just switch on the lights as soon as the last shot is over, which is a terrible thing, I'm going to, I don't know. So I wrote to people and say, please keep it on and all that. And once I've been to a hall myself, and it just, the moment the lights come on, people get a cue to get up, and everybody is trying to reach home fast. So, but it is there. If you are patient, it is there.
Yes, can I get a mic on the back there?
Excuse me?
Okay, yeah, ask. Then I'll come to you, yeah.
Sriram, hi. Question is, I worked with Haynes during 2013 when he had just finished working with you and starting our own film. So this is going back to 2012. So 6 years in the making and then finally the film comes out. Now, how do you know somebody somewhere is not making it, or what kind of thrillers are coming out? So how do you keep updated with films that are going on across? And
no, in between I waited for 1 year because I read about Kabul announcement. So I kind of, of course I had not begun shooting, but we sort of left. I said, let's see what these guys are up to and so on. Then I saw Kabul, I said, okay, no stress. So it's a different movie. So
Hello.
no, generally your film viewing exercise, how do you keep updated with things that are being done across?
see, if you're doing something as taking off from this, how can, if others have the same idea, well, wow, I don't know.
Also,
I just have to.
Ideas are not copyrightable, stories are. So even if you might have the same idea, the story will differ.
When our trailer came out, a lot of people said it's taken from In Darkness. Of course, I've seen In Darkness, but that is after my film was ready and all. So I saw In Darkness, which I didn't even trip on too much, But it's got similar things, of course. It's got a person playing blind and all that. But playing blind is there in Manmohan Desai's Parvarish. There's a song, Khuli nazar kya khel dikhega dunya ka, band aankh se dekh tamasha dunya ka. So I was telling my French guys, look, I've come to you for the rights, but if I had not come to you and I've just done it, said I am taking it from Manmohan Desai, what are you going to say? So, they were good people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Namaste,
Mayur here from Sinistar.
I'm taking the question at the back. Yeah.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम हारिज जोशी है सर। अंधाधुन में जो लास्ट सीन है, जो वो टीन को वो अपनी स्टिक से वो करता है, तो was he really blind or no?
I wish I knew.
What's your interpretation of that scene?
No, I'll tell you, there are 5 writers on this film. And so I asked others, what do you think this movie should end on? The other choices are either he's blind, in the end and he's discovered his kind of music and his passion, mojo, whatever. Or he's not blind, he's got his eyes back. Both seem a little inadequate both felt I didn't feel satisfied, you know. If he is blind, I'll say, okay, what did he do so wrong that he got punished so badly? And if he is not blind and he is fine, then I'm saying, what the hell was that? Then why did I see this? So I was very keen on the ambiguity from very early. By ambiguity, I mean, it's not confused. It should not be confused. It should be for you, if you believe this man is blind, okay, that version exists and it's right. And if you believe, oh, this guy has done this trick, then that is the truth. So we have done a little structure kind of thing, which is a big clue actually. Maybe he's making up part of the story and so on. But I didn't want to commit that. And there are people, I'll tell you, who actually think that last thing was an accident. You know, it's some Doppler echo effect they can make out. And if you, even with view practice with a stick, with your eyes closed, definitely once or twice you'll hit something. So. And I'll tell you one more thing. Why do you think a man would you trust a doctor if you are blind who says, okay, I'll give you 1 crore and eyes, you come with me and I'll give you an injection and you may never wake up, you know. So I would never have trusted the doctor. So.
Also, to add to that, Sriram has done few post-release interviews. If you Google, they're on Film Companion, Indian Express and other people. There are a lot of questions on similar ideas, yeah.
Yeah, hi. Mike, I had a couple of questions. With regards to the casting of Mr. Anil Dhawan, like...
Sorry, where are you? I can't see.
Yeah, can you
stand up? Yeah.
With regards to the casting of Mr. Anil Dhawan, like he's coming after many years. Like, was it just that song Teri Galiyon Mein which made you decided, okay, you thought of the song first and then I should go for Mr. Dhawan?
No, see, what happened is initially the idea was to take a present day actor and make a character actor and make him into a fictional star of the 70s, you know. I mean, that was the easier thing to do. And then at some point it struck me because I listened to a lot of this, YouTube and old songs and all that, you know. And then it struck me, okay, what if I take an actual an actor of that time? Simply because I'll get a lot of footage which I can purchase and I can use and so on. And Anil Dhawan has some terrific songs. He's also Varun Dhawan's uncle and he's also an institute person. So, I mean, it all fell into place. I narrated to him, he loved the story and the songs are so appropriate. I mean, all the songs we use actually.
I'll ask.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Tanish Bansal. I'm from Whistling Woods. The particular part of the film about the rabbit, was that something symbolic or was this just a plot twist? Also, what do you think about the art of overinterpretation of films? Like, if the curtains are blue, does that really shows that the feel is gloomy or the curtains are just freaking blue?
Hey, will you just paraphrase that?
What do you think about the art, the way the films are overinterpreted? They can just have a literal meaning, or are they
a
just
lot of
acting?
people overanalyze it. So.
See, this could have gone the other way. I mean, it could have people could have said it's confusing and second half is a train wreck and so on, and it's very possible it could have happened. I mean, so I had no idea. I was on tenterhooks, even though I was very confident it's going to work, but I was not sure because we showed the film to a few people, I mean, the press and I think a lot of people on Monday, 4 days before the release. So it was like, in a sense, that day I came to know, okay, it's kind of people are liking it. So far so good, you know. But regarding the interpretation, actually, I thought there are 2 interpretations, but people have come up with 7 or 8 ones. Some of them are actually ridiculous, but TK, why not, you know?
It's always fun to read as a filmmaker, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah. But I have not read all the Quora because there are too many strange...
Yeah. Right. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Sir, with your repertoire, I've seen that there's lesser of a box office and more of a thought that goes into your film always. Now with box office coming in, does your thought change with your next film? Do
I
you
hope
approach your
not, I
film
don't know.
differently?
No, in the sense, see, box office just gives you a little bit of a happiness at that moment. The next film there's no connection with the next film, no? So, I mean, if I say, okay, the next one should be even bigger and with all that, I think those are all dangerous things to, you know, fall prey on. Just, I mean, you have to get back to your first film kind of zone and you're just trying to get a good story and get the right people. So I hope it doesn't affect, I don't know. It's still running, so...
To add to that, post working on Badlapur with Varun, there was no pressure to work with a similar A-list star. Oh, you have worked with it. Most directors think like that. You have worked on this now go up or on similar range? So was there no pressure on you from your producers, your partners?
There was. Dinesh Vijan was my Badlapur. He said, how can you have to make bigger and so on, So they have that, but that is their thought, no? It's not my thought, so.
What do you tell them? What do you tell them?
I mean, he was not producing this, actually. So here I had a carte blanche, actually, because my producer here was, there was a corporate and there was also a friend of mine who was involved. So my friend left me alone and I told him, you deal with the rest and all that. So if I had made this film with Dinesh Vijan, I may have had some, some tough decisions to, because he's, like when we did Badlapur, there was this big worry about the end again. So everybody said, you must clear the end, you must have a voiceover, and this happens. And I said, you guys mad, Then luckily, Varun's father, David Dhawan, we recorded a voiceover and put it for one trial screening. And David Dhawan came out, what the hell was that? Remove it. Then everybody was like, quiet. So the most commercial man saved me. So.
And Dinesh is coming back to your life and you have delivered big numbers. So all the best handling Dinesh on your next. Are there any more questions? No. Yeah, ma'am.
Sriram, can you tell us which is your favorite crime thriller and why?
Oh, there are lots of them here. So
No, the one that you've seen the most often.
Well, I've seen a Hitchcock film called Notorious, which I love very much. It's black and white, and I don't know, whether today people, it's made in 1940. So, and it's a spy film without a single scene of actual violence on screen. So, I'm referring to those movies because those movies are still available and you can see them. Of course, I like Three Billboards, I like Fargo, I like Johnny Meranam and Jewel Thief. Jewel Thief, I've always wanted to get a story like that. But, yeah, so lots of them.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead. Yeah. Can I get a mic here? There?
Sriram sir, would you like to elaborate on this business of spoon feeding? Like, where should a filmmaker demarcate in terms of the Indian audience, the international audience? They say Indian audience needs more explanation of things. International audience doesn't need, and so the opinion is always divided.
I think audiences all over, if it is, you are basically a storyteller. So if you're putting something here and the next scene is something else, the viewer has to be given this, they have to use their imagination also. I think too many of our films, I'll give you an example from Badlapur, okay. Now there is, I don't know, sometimes I'll be talking about films which many of you may not have seen, but check it out.
Go back and see, don't worry.
Yeah. So Badlapur, there's a sequence where the interval in ke baad, it opens with, we see a new person, Radhika Apte, who's introduced there, and she's driving, and her car has a puncture. And she's on a lonely road, and then she's waiting, and then Varun Dhawan, the antagonist or whatever, he comes there and says, can I help you and all that. So he's trying to befriend her and things like that. He gives her a lift and so on. Now, obviously, he has kind of done something to her car earlier. And in fact, in the original script, we had a scene where she's at a wedding, and there is cars are parked outside, and there is this guy is prowling around, then he bends near a particular car and maybe puts a nail or something he does, And then I said, why shoot all this? It's obvious. But there were people who said, how did he know that she is going to be driving? And so, you can't try and explain everything. It'll be, every movie will just go on, and it'll be, and in fact, that's a mistake we often make. We just try to explain everything and dilute our own core, the core story,
We'll take one last question if anyone has. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, big bowl.
Sir, there are three parts to the question, but the main driving point is content. So I wanted to ask, there are around 5 writers who have been credited in the screenplay for the film, Andhadhun. So what was the process like? And secondly, I would like to say, does the streaming culture, has it brought about respect for good content which made Andhadhun work more than, suppose, which I personally feel, Johnny Gaddar, which if it would have been released now, would have worked more than what it had, than what it did, the business it did previously. And thirdly, I would like to say on this account that regarding the entire scenario of how content-driven heroes are also coming in. Like you would say, you'll take a personal choice for choosing an actor who suits the script more. Though I had read in an interview before that this concept was narrated to Varun before, but he said he'll go ahead with Badlapur, or maybe he liked Badlapur more than that. And I see it as a landmark where, suppose
What is the question? What is the last question?
The question is regarding content and how it's changing the business of cinema. So there are 5 screenwriters being credited in a film. There is a very alternate film doing 100 crore business. So I take Andhadhun also as a landmark cinema in this change or in this new wave, where I also credit it as maybe a Badhai Ho's success.
I'm not getting the
landing on that.
question. What is the question? The first 2 questions he has already answered about working with multiple writers.
So how was it working with the screenwriting team? And do you personally think that, yes, streaming has brought in a change in viewing content and in a better way?
Do you think if Johnny Gadar released today, it would have done better?
See, Johnny Gadar did well. Even that time, it was just not marketed well. It was not in screens enough and all that. But those who saw it liked it, and it did pretty well on DVD and so on. You know, so I mean, how do you market a small film with an unknown actor, and the only known person was Dharmender, you know? So that was the tough part. And plus, at that time, my producer Adlab was being sold to Reliance and so on. So, but otherwise, I mean, of course, if Johnny Gadar today, I mean, I'm a little more known or whatever, hence it may get a little more publicity and all that. So Johnny Gadar would have worked. It didn't do badly. Just that it didn't do fantastic business, and I was on a profit sharing, and I got exactly, there is the name of a film coming with Shah Rukh Khan. That's the amount of money I got.
Though I remember talking to you post Johnny Gadar, you said, I have got calls from about a dozen producers. If that is a flop, then I don't know what it is. So, you know, it worked really well for you.
Yeah.
And one last question. When you started out, you must have, we still keep on hearing in mainstream.
I'll just answer one part. Yeah. And regarding the Varun part, Varun, it was more like when, I'm talking about 2013 end or something, when I had just had this idea, okay, let me work out on a story like, you know, this piano tuner and adapt it. And I was sharing that with Varun. It was not a full script or anything, because we were just meeting and chatting. And then Badlapur was an actual, the full beginning, middle, end was there. It was a novel which I have based it on. So, I mean, obviously that one was complete, much more complete and much more, engaging for him to hear as a film he's going to do immediately. This means he would have said yes, and then I would have sat and wrote the script. Then when this got over, when Badlapur got over, I could have gone to Varun again, but it was just that times, you know, people, so what happens, he was doing a different set of films, you know, so I didn't want to wait till I get that. So already I waited for 2-3 years because of Kabil and this and that, so I said, let me just go ahead. I was going to do this with a newcomer actually, Andhadhun. So.
Okay. I wanted to ask, from that zero you mentioned, I read some interview recently, you said Shah Rukh called me, you went to Mannat, so is there something happening?
No, not yet. It's just that, I mean, he saw the film and he liked it, and he called me and said, let's have a cup of coffee. And I said, yeah. And I thought I'll go for a coffee when I've got something to narrate to him, you know. Then his birthday, he called me, I went, nothing else.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you everyone. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sriram. Thank you, Somen, for this lovely chat. Thank you, everybody over here. Thank you so much, the guys at the console, the entire Knowledge series and Producers Workshop team. You guys are really lovely. Couldn't have done this without you. Thank you.